If you want to build the best version of yourself, the very first step is awareness. Not the shallow kind of awareness where you merely recognize your habits, but the deeper, more uncomfortable awareness where you strip away the illusions you've built about who you are. Most people live inside a narrative they've unconsciously accepted, stories told by parents, society, culture, or their own fears. And when you live within that story, you forget that it's only a script, not your essence. Self-awareness is the moment you stop acting out someone else's script and begin to see yourself clearly, without masks, without excuses, without the constant noise of external expectations. Think about it. How many times do we go through the day on autopilot, reacting the same way to stress, making the same excuses, chasing the same temporary highs, without ever stopping to ask, why do I do this? Who told me this is who I am? Awareness is that pause. It is the courage to look into the mirror of your own life and not just see your strengths, but also the shadows you've been avoiding. Because here's the truth, what you are unaware of controls you. The fears you never acknowledge, the insecurities you never name, the habits you pretend are harmless. These things silently shape your life far more than your conscious choices. Philosophers through history have said that self-knowledge is the beginning of wisdom. Psychology echoes the same. The more aware you are of your patterns, the more freedom you have to change them. If you don't know the terrain of your inner world, you cannot hope to build anything lasting upon it. Imagine trying to construct a building without first surveying the ground. It would collapse under its own weight. The same is true for your life. Awareness is the survey, the blueprint, the foundation. Without it, even your discipline, your goals, your motivation all remain unstable. But awareness is not just about noticing your flaws. It's also about recognizing the strengths you've been ignoring, the abilities you've undervalued. Sometimes we are blind not only to our weaknesses, but also to our potential. We underestimate ourselves because we've spent too long listening to voices that told us we were small. When you become aware, you begin to reclaim your own narrative. You start to see that the person you thought you were is just one version, and that a greater version already exists within you, waiting to be awakened. The best version of you does not begin with changing the external, it begins with seeing the internal clearly. Awareness is not comfortable because it confronts you with truths you would rather avoid, but it is liberating because once you see, you cannot unsee. Once you know, you cannot unknow, and that knowledge becomes the first tool of transformation. So if you want to build your best version, begin here with the courage to look at yourself fully, to know your strengths, to name your weaknesses, to own your truth. Because the greatest prison is not the limitations of the world, it is the blindness we carry within. And the moment you choose awareness, the walls of that prison begin to crumble. If awareness is the beginning of transformation, then discipline is what carries that transformation forward. Far too often, people wait for motivation to strike before taking action, as though change is a lightning bolt that must descend from the sky to push them forward. But the truth is, motivation is unreliable. It comes and goes like the weather. One day you feel inspired, the next day you feel empty. If you build your life around waiting for motivation, you will never create anything lasting. What truly builds your best version is discipline, the ability to act consistently, regardless of how you feel in the moment. Discipline is not glamorous. It does not thrill you like the first rush of a new idea or the excitement of a fresh beginning. Discipline is quiet, steady, often mundane. It is waking up when you said you would, even when the bed is warm. It is saying no to distractions, even when they are tempting. It is doing the work, even when the work feels heavy. But here lies the paradox. Though discipline feels restrictive at first, it is the very thing that gives you freedom. Because every time you practice discipline, you build momentum. And momentum is what separates dreamers from achievers. Psychologically, discipline reshapes the brain. Every consistent action wires a pattern into your identity. The more often you act in alignment with your goals, the more natural those actions become. At first, discipline feels forced, as though you are pushing against yourself. But over time, those repeated choices form habits, and habits form character. Eventually, what once felt unnatural becomes effortless. And this is where the magic happens. You stop needing motivation, because the behaviors that once felt difficult are now simply part of who you are. Philosophically, discipline is the highest form of self-respect. It is the recognition that your future self matters enough to sacrifice temporary comfort. Discipline says, I value the person I am becoming more than the indulgence of this moment. Without discipline, awareness alone is powerless. You may know who you are and who you wish to become, but without disciplined action, that vision remains only a fantasy. Awareness shows you the path, but discipline is what walks you down it step by step, day after day. And here is something essential: discipline is not about perfection. It is about persistence. You will fail, you will stumble, you will fall short. But discipline is not destroyed by failure. It is forged in how you respond to it. The disciplined person does not quit when they fall, they rise and continue. That resilience, that ability to return to the path, no matter how many times you stray, is the true measure of strength. So when you think about building your best version, do not ask yourself, how can I stay motivated? Instead ask, how can I remain disciplined? Because motivation may start the journey, but discipline is what ensures you arrive. And the moment you commit to discipline, you stop chasing fleeting feelings and start creating lasting change. Remember this, your future is not built in grand moments of inspiration. It is built in the small, disciplined choices you make every single day. If awareness is the beginning and discipline is the bridge, then the quality of your inner dialogue is the fuel that sustains the journey. Because no matter how disciplined you are, if your inner voice is constantly whispering defeat, doubt, and limitation, you will eventually sabotage yourself. The truth is, the most influential conversation you will ever have in your life is not with another person. It is the conversation you have with yourself every single day. Think about it. Every action you take, every risk you avoid, every opportunity you reach for is first filtered through your self-talk. If your mind says, I'm not good enough, you'll hesitate. If it says, I always fail, you won't try. And if it says, this is who I am and I cannot change, then you've already placed chains around your potential before you've even stepped forward. The irony is that many of us would never speak to a friend the way we speak to ourselves. We encourage others, we show them compassion, we remind them of their worth. Yet when it comes to our own inner dialogue, we are merciless critics. Psychology teaches us that our inner voice is not just commentary, it actively shapes our behavior. Cognitive science calls it the self-fulfilling prophecy. What you repeatedly tell yourself becomes the script you unconsciously follow. If you call yourself lazy often enough, you will begin to live lazily. If you call yourself resilient, you will rise from setbacks with greater strength. Words are not neutral, they are seeds. Plant them often enough in the soil of your mind, and they grow into the reality you inhabit. Philosophically, your inner dialogue is the reflection of your relationship with yourself. If that dialogue is harsh and condemning, then your relationship with yourself is fractured. And when you live at war with yourself, no amount of external success can bring peace. But when your inner voice is aligned with growth, with compassion, with possibility, you create harmony inside, and that harmony becomes the foundation for every external achievement. Now, this is not about repeating empty affirmations you don't believe. It is about consciously choosing to interrupt destructive patterns of thought and replacing them with language that empowers rather than diminishes. When the voice of doubt says, you can't, discipline yourself to ask, why not me? When the voice of fear says, you'll fail, answer with, failure is the path to mastery. This shift is not instant, it is practiced. But over time, you rewire your inner dialogue to become an ally rather than an enemy. So as you build your best version, listen carefully to the words you say to yourself in silence, for they echo louder than any voice outside you. Transform that dialogue, and you transform the direction of your life. Remember this, the world will always have its critics, but the voice that determines your future is the one within. Make sure it speaks in a way that builds you, not breaks you. If awareness gives you clarity, discipline gives you structure, and inner dialogue gives you direction, then struggle gives you strength. There is no escaping it. Your best version is not built in times of comfort. It is forged in the moments that test you, in the moments that stretch you beyond what you thought you could endure. Yet most people spend their lives avoiding struggle, treating it as an enemy, when in reality, it is life's greatest teacher. Think about every person you admire, every figure in history who has inspired you. None of them reached greatness by walking an easy path. They were refined by resistance. Adversity forced them to grow beyond their limitations. The human spirit is like a muscle. It only becomes stronger under pressure. Without resistance, it remains weak, unused, undeveloped. Struggle is that resistance. It may feel like pain in the moment, but it is shaping you, sharpening you, preparing you for the person you are meant to become. Psychologically, struggle rewires how we see ourselves. When you face a challenge and endure it, you begin to recognize that you are far more capable than you believed. Each time you survive what once seemed unbearable, your confidence expands. What you once thought would break you becomes the very thing that builds you. Struggle is not just about enduring pain. It is about discovering the power that was dormant within you all along. Without challenge, you never meet the deeper layers of your own strength. Philosophically, struggle gives life meaning. Imagine a life without difficulty, no resistance, no obstacles, no challenges. At first it sounds ideal, but very quickly it would feel hollow. Because it is the very contrast of hardship that makes achievement profound. Joy tastes sweeter when you have known sorrow. Success feels richer when you have battled through failure. Struggle is not just part of the journey, it is what gives the journey depth. But here's the key: struggle in itself does not transform you. Your perspective toward struggle does. Many people go through hardship and become bitter, resentful, even broken. Others go through the same hardship and emerge wiser, stronger, more compassionate. The difference is not in the struggle, but in the meaning they assign to it. If you see struggle only as punishment, you suffer twice. But if you see struggle as preparation, as growth in disguise, you begin to embrace it instead of resisting it. So as you build your best version, stop asking for an easier life. Ask instead for the strength to handle the life you already have. Because greatness is not born in comfort zones. It is carved out of the storms you survive, the failures you rise from, the pain you turn into power. Remember, this struggle is not the enemy. It is the sculptor. And every challenge you endure is chiseling away at the weaker parts of you, revealing the stronger self that has been waiting underneath all along. If awareness opens your eyes, discipline builds your habits, inner dialogue shapes your mindset, and struggle refines your strength, then the environment you choose becomes the soil in which all of this either thrives or withers. You cannot build your best version in isolation from your surroundings, because no matter how strong-willed you believe yourself to be, you are always being shaped by the people you spend time with, the ideas you consume, and the spaces you inhabit. Human beings are adaptive by nature. We rise or fall to the level of the environment we consistently expose ourselves to. Think about it: if you spend your time around people who complain, who make excuses, who settle for mediocrity, it becomes increasingly difficult not to absorb that same energy. You may not notice it immediately, but slowly their language becomes your language, their standards become your standards. On the other hand, when you surround yourself with people who challenge you, who think deeply, who demand more of themselves and of life, you naturally begin to rise. Environment is contagious. And the question is not whether you are being influenced, but in what direction that influence is pulling you. Psychologically, this truth is well established. Studies in behavioral science show that habits, attitudes, and even moods spread socially. Motivation, discipline, even courage can be strengthened or weakened simply by the presence of others. We often think of growth as an entirely individual effort, but much of it is relational. If the people around you reinforce your goals, your chances of success increase dramatically. If they undermine them, the climb becomes unnecessarily steep. Philosophically, environment extends beyond people. It includes the culture you immerse yourself in, the ideas you feed your mind, the values you normalize. If your environment celebrates comfort over growth, distraction over focus, consumption over creation, then you will be pulled toward those defaults, no matter how much discipline you try to impose. This is why curating your environment is not a luxury, it is a necessity. To build your best version, you must deliberately choose what and who you allow to shape you. But let's be clear, shaping your environment doesn't always mean cutting people out. It means setting boundaries where needed, seeking out mentors and communities that elevate you, and intentionally creating spaces, physical and mental, that align with the person you are becoming. It might mean reorganizing your daily routines, changing what you read or watch, or even carving out solitude to protect your focus. Each of these choices sends a powerful message to yourself. I am serious about my growth, and I will not leave it to chance. So as you think about building your best version, ask yourself, does my environment pull me forward or hold me back? Am I surrounding myself with voices that lift me or ones that drain me? Because your environment is not neutral. It is always shaping you. And the moment you choose an environment that reflects the best in you, you create conditions where your growth is not just possible, but inevitable. Remember this: the seed of greatness already exists within you, but it will only flourish in the right soil. If awareness gives you clarity, discipline builds consistency, inner dialogue directs your mindset, struggle refines your strength, and environment shapes your growth, then purpose is what ties it all together. Without purpose, all the effort risks becoming mechanical, a checklist of habits and achievements that may impress others, but leave you feeling hollow inside. Building your best version is not about chasing perfection, because perfection is an illusion, something forever out of reach. It is about aligning your life with purpose, so that even your imperfections, your failures, your struggles become meaningful. One of the greatest mistakes people make is believing their best version must be flawless. They wait until they fix everything before allowing themselves to step into their potential. but perfection is a moving target. The moment you think you've reached it, the definition changes and you're left chasing shadows. Purpose, on the other hand, anchors you. It gives meaning to your actions, direction to your discipline, and resilience to your struggle. Purpose transforms ordinary effort into extraordinary fulfillment. Psychologically, purpose gives you a reason to endure. When the journey is difficult, when motivation fades, when discipline feels heavy, purpose whispers, "This is why it matters." People can survive almost anyhow if they have a strong enough why. Without that why, even the smallest obstacles feel overwhelming. With it, even the greatest challenges become bearable. Purpose does not remove pain, but it redeems it. It allows you to see your struggle not as punishment, but as preparation. Philosophically, purpose elevates life beyond the individual. It shifts the focus from, "What do I get?" to, "What do I give?" From "How do I look?" to, "Oh, do I become?" A life obsessed with perfection is self-centered. It measures worth in comparison to others, in achievements that fade, in standards that are never satisfied. A life rooted in purpose, however, transcends the ego. It aligns you with something larger: service, contribution, growth, impact. And in that alignment, you find a freedom that perfection could never deliver. Living with purpose does not mean you will never stumble. It means that even when you do, you keep moving because the path itself is meaningful. It does not mean you will never feel doubt. It means that doubt cannot paralyze you because your purpose is greater than your fear. Purpose is not discovered in a single moment. It is built step by step by aligning your daily choices with your deepest values. So as you build your best version, do not aim to be flawless. Aim to be purposeful. Let your life be guided not by the illusion of perfection, but by the power of meaning. Because the best version of you is not the one who never makes mistakes. It is the one who chooses to live with intention, who turns discipline into service, struggle into strength, and time into legacy. Remember, this perfection dies with you, but purpose lives beyond you. Choose purpose.